Part 48. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 475. 469. It's the world's fault. Non-stop, Yi kicked Wesker's chest one by one, and her feet were also wrapped in black mist and dots of green light. Under the double boost of magic and Tiberium energy, Yi's kick is as powerful as a bomb. With a bang, Wesker, who was entangled by the rhubarb, was kicked out one by one, and even the tiny tentacles of the rhubarb were violently torn off, and the fixation of these tentacles increased the force that Wesker endured, so that he could not the first time was kicked to reduce the impact. Bang! Wesker's body crashed into one wall after another like a bullet, and finally crashed into a production line for the production of Hunter Alpha, destroying more than half of the equipment before stopping. Before he could stand up, another beam of light mixed with green plasma clusters was emitted from De Wong's mouth. Boom! The production workshop was instantly destroyed by a devastating beam of light. Yi strolled over, staring at the scene of the explosion where the smoke was billowing and the flames were soaring into the sky. She felt that the rhubarb was blocking the way, so she gave it a kick without looking back. Aside. There was a crash, and Wesker stood up from the ruins in a panic, and looked at Yi fiercely. He is still constantly absorbing the undead magic energy of other undead creatures around him, but with the hunting of Four Eyes, Beltway and others, and B.O.W. also joined the ranks of encirclement and suppression under the control of the Red Queen, there are fewer and fewer zombies. Isn't he dead yet? Rhubarb, bite him. Yi said lightly. Roar! Rhubarb on the side suddenly let out a terrifying roar, and swooped over. When Chen came to join Yi, he saw that the battle was almost over. Under the attack of Yi and Rhubarb, Wesker no longer has any chance of winning, and the power he once dreamed of was finally completely torn apart. If Wolman Schindler finally completes the transformation ceremony of the Death Knight, he may be even stronger than he is now. If he is given more time, he can also kill Spencer, take control of the Caucasus base, and then control the entire Umbrella Company. If Chen Yuan hadn't brought Yi and Rhubarb from other worlds, and Tiberium, which doesn't belong to this world at all, he might really be invincible in the world of Resident Evil. But there are not so many ifs in this world, only cruel reality. And Wesker also recognized this reality. He tremblingly got up from the ground. The wound on his abdomen that almost cut him in half made him unable to stand up, he could only hunched over, but his proud head was still held high, staring at everyone in front of him. One eye had been blown out, and blood flowed all over the body, but the other eye was still shining with a fierce scarlet light. At this moment, he didn't have impotent rage, nor did he plead desperately. On the contrary, after seeing Chen Yuan coming over, Wesker laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I understand, ha 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 ha. What do you understand? Facing this desperate boss, Chen Yuan didn't mind chatting with him. He was very sure that Wesker had no chance of making a comeback, and he also wanted to chat with the most charming villain in the world of Resident Evil. I lost. Ha 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 ha, but not to you. Wesker opened his bloody mouth and laughed loudly. I lost to this world, ha ha ha, this world. It's not me who is wrong, is it this world? Ha ha. Chen Yuan smiled mockingly. Yes. I lost because you possess the power of other worlds. Even if I do it again, facing a power that is completely unfamiliar to me, I will still lose with a high probability. Because I am just a person in the circle, and you, from the circle outside. It seems that you have learned something, but it's too late. Chen Yuan said, because you are already a dead person. Well, I may not be accurate in saying this, because you are already an undead. But this is not true. Important, isn't it? He, it's not important to you, but to me, it's very important. Ha 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 ha. Wesker was still laughing. Kill him. Chen Yuan said calmly. Before the words fell, Yi appeared in front of Wesker in an instant, with his hands directly into his chest. And at this last moment, Wesker still wanted to resist, but with two swishes, two sharp tiberium crystals had pierced his arm. At the same time, Yi's hand has pierced his heart. A black mist emerged from Wesker's forehead, and finally condensed into his appearance. Even in such a miserable state, he was still smiling. Anti-death barrier. Yi immediately used magic, and the pale yellow magic circle exuded holy light, like a millstone, bit by bit to wear away Wesker's soul. His figure became fainter and fainter, and finally turned into a wisp of green smoke and disappeared completely. At the same time, a system notification also came: Albert Wesker has died, the system has absorbed his soul energy, one of your daughters has started the resurrection process, and it will be completed in 12 hours after the resurrection. She will be in Nuwa. The base is on standby. Hearing the system's voice, Chen breathed a sigh of relief. If the system thinks Wesker is dead, then he is really dead. Just like Spencer, although Spencer was killed by Nikolai at that time, his soul was out of his body. In this state, the Queen thought he was dead. Acknowledged Spencer's death. And, who is the resurrected daughter this time? I am looking forward to it. He asked, System, which daughter is resurrected this time? Number 11. The system gave a short answer: please judge for the specific information after resurrection. Number 11. Chen Yuyan seemed to feel that this number was a little familiar. He seemed to have heard Wang Jinsong mention it, but he didn't remember it for a while. Let's talk about it when we go back. Number 11, is she Yi's younger sister? Yi, who had no interest in other things, asked eagerly. Why, do you still have relevant memories? Yi shook his head. No, I just feel very close. I should have been very close to number 11 before. Chen Yuyan nodded, picked up the communicator and said, Four Eyes, you continue to look for the black warriors in the base. One counts as one, kill them all, and leave none behind. The Red Queen will guide you, and Rhubarb will also come help. Ghost, the White Queen has been fused with the Red Queen, now you can lift the communication restrictions. What are you doing now? Nikolai Genovaev is running away, and I'm chasing him. But Hank was injured by Victor just now, and Chris and Jill were also injured. I think I need support. The ghost's gloomy voice sounded. Red Queen. Immediately block all passages. Block Nikolai. Chen Yuyan shouted immediately. Master, all passages cannot be blocked. Nikolai took the secret passage reserved by the base, and the system of this passage is separate. Owner. Chen Yuyan's eyes froze, and he said sharply, don't let him run away. Yi, let's go. Thanks to Samwick for the reward of 10,000 starting coins. Thank you for the 1,000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. Thanks to Slentnir for the reward of 500 starting coins. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 476. 470, Road Dog. Nikolai Genovaev walked quickly in the narrow and deep passage. Since just now, the White Queen has completely disappeared. He is also very sure that the White Queen has been infected by a virus. Even for him who has been walking in the dark for a long time, he knows more. The other party undoubtedly obtained the U.M.F-013 Red Queen first, and then used the Red Queen to attack the White Queen. Because by the end, the White Queen had already started speaking with another electronically synthesized voice and claimed to be the Red Queen. There is no doubt that in his opinion, Chen Yuyan's invasion has been planned for a long time, and it can even be said that the layout has been planned since Raccoon City. What a terrible and deep thought this is. Since the opponent's layout is like this, he must not confront him head-on now, and we can only talk about it after escaping. Of course he didn't know. If Chen Yuyan knew this idea, he would just chuckle, because originally he just wanted to find a few of his missing team members. This passage is an escape passage specially reserved by Umbrella Company for the company's top management, and in order to prevent the worst from happening, all the switches in the passage are manually operated. There should be an underground driveway from here, which can directly reach Beslan, thought Nikolai in his mind as he walked briskly. The closer he got to the destination, the more he couldn't help thinking about these questions again and again. Although his experience in fighting in Afghanistan before or in various dangerous areas after joining the Umbrella Company told him that this is actually a cowardly performance, and it is very likely to make him uneasy under such circumstances, even lost the fighting spirit, but in such a completely broken situation, it was difficult for him to control his emotions. It's not because his emotional control is not enough, it's because everything that happened is too unimaginable. With his common sense, he is completely unable to understand everything that has happened during this period of time. First, a man who claimed to be a necromancer appeared in front of him and Spencer, and showed his ability to resurrect the undead, and promised to give Spencer eternal life. Then Spencer pretended to be fascinated by his plan, and then the necromancer actually wanted to manipulate the political situation in South Austria and even become an independent country. In this regard, Spencer directly came to a conclusion. Although this necromancer has mastered mysterious powers, he is just a fool. However, Spencer still cooperated with the necromancer Wollmann Schindler's actions, and indeed almost triggered the political crisis in South Austria's ex-latter. But what kind of person Spencer is, he has long seen that even if he really conspired to seize the power of South Austria, his country will not survive for a month. And Spencer's definition of Wollmann is also very accurate. He is just an ordinary person who has suddenly gained great power. Maybe there are some extraordinary things that made him come to the present and possess such power, but his wisdom at the national level is just ridiculous. But even so, the power Wollmann possessed made Spencer and Nikolai walk on thin ice. Nikolai also transformed himself into an undead creature, the Black Warrior, to gain the trust of Spencer and Wollmann. I also yearn for this power very much. Later, the Caucasus base was invaded. Spencer believed that Wollmann's plan had been completely ruined, so he simply killed Wollmann, and then he wanted to destroy the invaders himself. After all, according to intelligence, there were less than 10 invaders. That's all. However, it turns out that Spencer still underestimated Wollmann's mysterious power. Although he was sure that Wollmann himself was not strong, and indeed killed him, Spencer did not expect that Wollmann would actually kill him when he was dying. There is also the ability to awaken the Death Knight Wesker. You must know that Wollmann has said more than once before that Wesker's ritual is not complete, and now he can't move at all, no different from a corpse. He had to wait until the conflict broke out in the South Austrian ladder and collect more dead souls before he could truly complete Wesker's Death Knight transformation ceremony. Spencer believed Wollmann was telling the truth, and he tried many times. However, he was indeed too unfamiliar with the field of magic, and in the end, Wollmann made a deathbed counterattack and made Wesker wake up early. This is not the worst, because only these few invaders on Chinhuyan's side pierced through the Caucasus base from the front. Nikolai thought that if he changed his perspective, he might be more cautious. For example, he planted bombs in the power plant first, and planted bombs in several other places in the base to hide his eyes. At the same time, he found an exit and sneaked in quietly. No, not right. With the level of defense of the Caucasus base, it would be impossible for him to want to provoke this base. Unless you bring an army over. But Chinhuyan and the others actually came in from the front. Except for hiding a little when entering the door, I didn't want to hide my thoughts at all afterwards. Thousands of zombies and B.O.Ws, even a powerful existence like the TA.L.O.S tyrant among them, cannot stop his footsteps. This is beyond Nikolai's cognition. This is not the world he is familiar with, nor is it the rules he is familiar with. For the first time, he felt a deep sense of powerlessness. No matter how he calculated, no matter how he planned, in the end, in the face of power beyond common sense, everything was useless. As long as I can escape, as long as I can escape. I'll just stay anonymous and hum umbrella, it's all unreal. Only my life and my money are real. Hum magic. Hum green crystal. Nikolai thought viciously in his heart, no matter what you do, I won't accompany you anyway. At this time, there was a slight sound of footsteps behind him. The footsteps were so light that most ordinary people would not be able to hear them, not to mention the occasional gunshots and explosions from the other side of the base. But Nikolai was very keen, and immediately caught the voice, and he also judged that there was only one person coming, and he was already injured. Suddenly, Nikolai suddenly ducked down, and a sword light flashed behind him. He turned around slowly, and uttered a few words through the gap between his teeth. Victor, you lost your dog, so you haven't died yet? You can't escape, Nikolai. It was Victor who came. His condition was very bad, a large hole was punched in his ribs at close range by a large caliber pistol, and black air gushed out of it, spreading into the air. For an undead creature, this means that the undead magic that maintains his life is constantly dissipating, similar to a human losing a lot of blood. But even so, Victor persisted in catching up. Ah, that's right. I know you also wanted to gain power, so you took the initiative to contact Wollman Schindler. And when you were at the Caucasus base, you did check the terrain here, so you can follow. Come on, I shouldn't be surprised. Nikolai said coldly, but what I'm more concerned about is, can you go back? Go back and continue to be Chenyuyan's dog. This is what you told Woerman before the original story. What I do has nothing to do with you. Now, you just need to stop and wait for death to come. Victor said extremely gloomily. Thanks to Primal Phoenix for the reward of 2,831 starting coins. Thanks to Zingai Rangers and Passing Cats for giving us 1,000 starting coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 477. 471 No interest, die. It's up to you. Nikolai grinned, his hand moved down slowly, and then he suddenly activated it instantly, drawing his gun like lightning and shooting. Bang bang bang. The muzzle of the .45 caliber Desert Eagle shot out scorching flames, and the large caliber bullets hit the ground almost simultaneously, shooting out sparks one after another. Victor had noticed the movement of Nikolai's hand a long time ago, and immediately dodged it. At the same time, with a wave of his hands, a black long knife appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Nikolai. Nikolai's movements were faster, he backed up at high speed at the same time, and the pistol kept firing. Even after converting into an undead creature, Nikolai still retained his previous combat habits. He has a flexible pace, even in the narrow corridors, he can move around and play freely. That Desert Eagle pistol kept changing its angle like a poisonous snake waiting for an opportunity, and then fired a bullet when it seized the opportunity. After all, Victor still suffered from the injury, and soon he couldn't keep up with his movements, and was forced back again and again by Nikolai's pistol. Nikolai is also very cunning, he doesn't love to fight, and he backs away whenever he has the chance, getting closer and closer to the exit. Seeing this scene, Victor's eyes froze, and the expression on his face became a little ferocious. Then he suddenly lowered his body, lowered his center of gravity, and rushed towards Nikolai with a long knife in front of him. Bang bang bang. Nikolai kept firing, and Victor dodged 2 bullets, but one bullet directly knocked the long knife in his hand away, and then the last bullet hit directly. Although Victor kept crossing his hands in front of him after the long knife collapsed, the powerful impact of the bullet still knocked him backwards. Nikolai raised his hand to wipe his waist, and a new magazine appeared in his hand. However, in less than 0.1 seconds when he looked away, he suddenly found that Victor had disappeared from his sight. In the next second, he realized that Victor was approaching on the ground in a very ugly posture. To put it bluntly, he was rolling and crawling. However, with Victor's powerful physical ability transformed into a black warrior, the speed is not slow at all. With a bang, Victor seized the momentary gap and hugged Nikolai. Nikolai was shocked. "What are you doing? Let go." He turned the gun and was about to aim at Victor's temple and pull the trigger. However, his wrist was firmly grasped by Victor's iron-like hands, and he was not given a chance to turn the pistol at all. Under the wrestling between the two, it was actually Victor who had the upper hand. Because his Darth Vader transformation is more complete. If this goes on, there is no escape. Nikolai gritted his teeth tightly, and his face gradually became grim. He had noticed the heaviest injury on Victor's body before, and without hesitation, he grabbed Victor's wound that Hank had shot with a gun before, and clamped the wound fiercely. Countless black mist rolled out from the wound. Victor remained expressionless. Undead creatures do not feel pain, but the undead magic on his body is passing at an alarming speed, which is the basis for the survival of undead. However, Victor has no intention of letting go at all. His strength would not diminish one iota until his magic wore off. He just hugged Nikolai tightly, grasping his wrist with the gun. Nikolai's hand even reached in from Victor's wound. He could even touch the bullet in his body, and the internal organs that had begun to decay, but Victor remained unmoved. "Let go. You will really die if you go on like this. Although I don't know if there is hell, but if we die like us, what awaits us is the most terrifying possibility." Nikolai roared loudly. He even did not hesitate to use "we" to emphasize that he and Victor are actually the same kind of people. "Are you so afraid of death?" Victor replied coldly. "Is it worth it to work so hard for Chenyuyan?" Nikolai was still making the last effort. "Whether it's worth it or not, I don't know. But I am worthy of them by keeping you." Victor's voice was extremely firm. "Look at your appearance. You are a dog that has been trampled to death and wants to move forward." Nikolai finally broke down. He was furious and roared loudly. "It's really ugly, Nikolai Genovayev. Did you also show such an expression?" A dull but full of voice came, accompanied by several footsteps. Nikolai noticed that there was a sound of high-heeled shoes walking in it, but he didn't have time to think about it. He gritted his teeth and growled, "Hank! Take away the mad dog you released." "Nikolai, a member of the former Soviet Special Forces, I knew you when I was a soldier. During the Cold War, your name was like a thunder in the dark world. At least 3 national leaders died in your hands. Moreover, you are also the only target who escaped in the hunt I participated in." Hank slowly talked about the past. "Later I heard that you also joined the Umbrella Company, but your identity has been kept secret, and I have no way of contacting you. People outside think you are dead, but I know that under the banner of the company, what you did things don't have to be inferior to those in the former Soviet Union." Hank's words seemed a little too much, as if he was reminiscing about the past, and seemed to be delaying time. "What are you talking about now?" Nikolai snapped. "What I want to say is that it is my honor to be able to catch you. However, I am indeed a little disappointed." When Hank spoke, his figure also walked out of the corner. Still wearing a black combat uniform, wearing a pig face gas mask and a steel helmet, and a pair of lenses with red infrared lights flashing. At this time, Victor also completely exhausted his magic power. He loosened his hands and fell to the ground without a sound. Nikolai kicked Victor's body away, but he knew that he couldn't run away anymore. His expression was full of resentment, and he turned around and said, "Okay then. Since you wanted it since the Cold War, fight me, now you have this chance. Fight me to the death. I'm not that stupid, Nikolai." It's never happened to me that the mission failed because of my personal ego. So please, Miss Ashford. Hank was unmoved, and Victor died. He didn't react in front of him, and he could judge the situation very calmly. Tap, tap, the sound of high heels came again, and a touch of lavender skirt first appeared from the corner. Nikolai's expression became more ferocious. He gritted his teeth and said, "Alexia Ashford. What's here is none of your business." Alexia's beautiful and noble face finally appeared, and she said indifferently, "I have no interest in the grievances between you two sweaty big-headed soldiers. But, you killed Spencer. Although he was a disgusting and wretched bastard, but he was also one of the founders of the Umbrella Company, so he died at the hands of a villain, which made me a little unhappy." Nikolai knew that he was definitely not Alexia's opponent, and he started to step back step by step, saying at the same time, "You are right. People like Spencer are not worth it. Let me go, I can cooperate with you. I can." "Not interested, die." Alexia interrupted him without waiting for him to finish speaking. "Thank you for the 1,000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. Thank you for the 1,000 starting coins rewarded by Dragon Soul Fighting God. All Heavens Unlimited Base." Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 478. 471 Black Crystal. Mission completed. Nikolai Genovayev has been killed. Now you can build a subsidiary manufacturing station exclusive to the Resident Evil world, which can be built in your sphere of influence. The mission is complete. All the Black Warriors in the Caucasus base have been killed. You've been awarded a sweepstakes entry, ready to play. When Chen Yuyan went to the secret passage, the system notification had already come, which made him both happy and worried. The good news is that Nikolai Genovayev was actually caught. After he discovered that Nikolai escaped into the secret passage, he had already prepared for Nikolai to escape. What is worrying is that the system prompts that all the Black Warriors have been killed, which means that Victor is also dead. As he thought about it, he quickened his pace. He went all the way to the outside of the control center, where a large umbrella sign had been opened, revealing a deep passage inside. The passage is not wide, even a little narrow, but the ventilation is very good. It is hard to imagine that according to the location here, it should have gone deep into the Caucasus Mountains. When they came to the depths of the passage, Chen Yuyan could smell a burnt smell from a long distance away. He turned the corner and walked over, and saw a person approaching slowly, which surprised him. "Alexia. Why are you here?" Chen Yuyan looked at the person in front of him and exclaimed, which surprised him a little. Because Alexia in front of him was completely in a fighting state, her skin turned blue, and countless vine-like mutant tissues grew on her body, like a suit of armor. Her limp blonde hair had also turned into flower petals. This appearance makes her look a little weird, but at the same time, she can feel the powerful power contained in her body, and the feminine side is also very contradictory. Alexia glanced at Chen Yuyan, and said lightly, "That's it, you go to clean up the aftermath. I'm going to take a shower and change clothes in the room on the third floor of the rest area dedicated to the high-rise base." After speaking, he gave him a meaningful inexplicable eyes. Of course Chen Yuyan knew what she was implying. Wasn't it obvious that she had told her where she was going in such detail? "But he is sweating all over his head now," I said. "Sister, can you change to a normal state and do this again?" But apparently Alexia doesn't think so. In her opinion, she is proud of her current form that surpasses human beings. Looking at her slender back, Chen Yuyan wiped off his sweat, and turned around, only to see a scorched black body lying on the ground. It should be Nikolai Genovayev. For this cunning and powerful soldier who had the title of Silver Fox in both the former Soviet Union and the Umbrella Company, Chen Yuyan was also happy to see him now. A dead opponent is a good opponent, isn't it? However, on the other side, there was another corpse. Victor. Hank was sitting next to his dead body. He took off his gas mask to reveal his ordinary and resolute face. He was a little depressed and didn't say a word, just accompanying him. Victor, Chen Yuyan walked over, not knowing what to say for a while. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to catch up with Nikolai. He might escape with Umbrella's last secret. Hank said flatly, although his tone was very flat, but his eyes kept staring at Victor, never moved away. Chen Yuyan took a deep breath, and then let it out long, as if what he breathed out was the knot in his heart. He also went to squat next to Victor's body, without saying a word. Father, Yi came over and gently tugged on his collar. Chen Yuyan held Yi's catkin with his backhand, and said in a low voice, "Let Dad be quiet for a while, okay?" Yi nodded sensibly, "Oh, then I'll give you this black crystal later." "Wait a minute, what are you talking about? What black crystal?" Chen Yuyan was obviously taken aback, because Yi seldom used color to describe a thing, and all the things she used color to describe were related to magic power. Yi took out a black crystal from his pocket and handed it over. "This is it, a black crystal. I found it from Wesker's chest." Wesker's chest? Only then did Chen Yuyan remember that Wesker's fatal blow was pierced through the chest by a hand knife one by one. But after that, because he was in a hurry to catch up with Nikolai who was running away, he didn't notice these things. He doesn't know when Yi got the crystal. Chen Yuyan thought for a while, took a photo of crystal, and passed it to Lin Huo, and asked about the situation in Georgia by the way. Soon Lin Huo replied, "Georgia, the undead near Kazbek have been eliminated. However, the regular Georgian army in the direction of Gori is still gathering to confront the separatists in South Austria. There are a large number of undead. In addition, this photo is a crystal of undead, which is something that exists in the body of a high-level undead creature. Because undead creatures rely on undead magic to maintain their actions, the concentration of undead magic in advanced undead creatures has reached a terrifying level, so they will condense into crystals. The energy of undead magic will be endless in the crystal, supporting the actions of the undead forever. Then if I put this crystal in Victor's body, will he be resurrected? After all, he is also an undead creature now, just like a car running out of oil. Maybe I can put a nuclear reactor on him and he will be able to move?" Chen Yuyan hurriedly asked. "To be honest, I don't have much research on undead magic, and I don't know what will happen. It is even possible to give birth to an irrational and powerful undead creature from his corpse, so I suggest you be cautious." Lin Huo replied. Chen Yuyan understands that for Lin Huo, Victor is just a familiar plot character. But it's completely different for him. Victor was also a comrade in arms who went through life and death with him before. "Anyway, let me try." Chen Yuyan took the black crystal from Yi's hand, and then stuffed the crystal directly into the wound under Victor's rib. The wound was violently damaged by Nikolai before, and it was already as big as the mouth of a bowl. He placed the crystal directly on Victor's heart without any effort. But he stood up and waited for a while, but there was still no response. He turned around and said, "Hello, Yi, come and try." Yi nodded. She thought for a while, but didn't know what to do, so when she raised her hand, black mist began to condense in her hand, and then hit Victor suddenly. "Thank you for the 1000 starting point coins rewarded by the Star Sea Rangers. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 479. 473 Terrible Technology Tree. The black mist in Yi's hand seemed to ignite a black flame, and the black undead magic energy that was so thick that it seemed to be substantial immediately permeated. Through the wound on Victor's rib, one could clearly see that the black crystal lit up for a while. Light, and flashes rhythmically like a heartbeat. Powerful undead magic spewed out, covering Victor's whole body. The wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and countless bones grew out of his body to form a hideous black bone armor. Yi frowned, and stepped lightly to block Chen Yuyan. This powerful magic power made her feel extremely afraid. A moment later, Victor's eyes snapped open, and the majestic magical energy around him instantly returned to his body and disappeared without a trace. He slowly stood up from the ground, his scarlet eyes fixed on Chen. Yi has completely entered the fighting state. She is always on guard, and will rush up as soon as Victor makes any changes. Will he become a mindless undead creature who only knows to kill? After all, he has been dead for some time. Is his soul still there? Chen also stared at Victor, and he didn't relax at all. Victor stared at Chen for a long time, and finally, his aura suddenly subsided, and the bone armor returned to his body. He nodded slowly at Chen and said, "Boss Yan." Chen also nodded in response, and said, "You have obtained the power of the Death Knight, and now you should be stronger than you who were still a black warrior before. So, have you found your own path?" "I'm not sure," Victor replied. "Then you go." After Chen finished speaking, he ignored him, turned around and walked behind. Yi immediately followed Chen and left. Hank stood up, patted Victor on the shoulder, and followed and left. For any organization with a military nature, no matter what, it will not tolerate a person who has shot against his own people to return to the team. Therefore, the Wolf Pack team closed the door to Victor from then on. Chen and Hanka didn't discuss it beforehand, but they also made the same decision. Victor lowered his head and didn't speak. He waited until Chen and the others walked away, and then said softly, "I'm sorry." Then his figure flashed and disappeared into a black mist. Chen went directly to the database of Queen Bai, and now the entire Caucasus base is under his control, and there are still some scattered undead creatures, but it is not a big deal. The Red Queen, who has taken over the control of the entire base system, is directing those B.O.Ws to wipe out undead creatures everywhere. Beltway, with the same energetic Chris, 1 person and 1 power armor, are also unrivaled among the zombies. Zombies eliminated. Half an hour later, Chen came out of the database contentedly. Sure enough, as Umbrella Corporation's most important and secret base, the company's biggest secrets and cutting-edge research data are stored here. Here, Chen got the most complete technology tree of T-Virus B.O.W, which contains all the research results of Umbrella Corporation on T-Virus. Because relatively speaking, the G-Virus and the Veronica virus are new products, and Umbrella has not conducted in-depth research in this area. And after seeing all of Umbrella's research on the T-Virus, he corrected one of his previous misunderstandings. That is, the T-Virus must be weaker than the G-Virus and Veronica virus. In fact, as far as it is now, the T-Virus far exceeds the G-Virus and Veronica virus. Perhaps the latter two have stronger potential, but if the current development level of the T-Virus is 100, the G-Virus is only 1 at most, and the Veronica virus will definitely not exceed 10. Among these data, there are really some research projects that make Chen break out in a cold sweat. It can be seen that Umbrella's current research on the T-Virus has focused on the Tyrant, and other B.O.Ws, including the Hunter, are just incidental products. As for the research on Tyrants, Umbrella Company clearly presents 2 different routes. It is the T-102 route and the T-103 route. Unlike previous understandings, the T-103 Tyrant is not an upgraded version of the T-102 Tyrant, but another research direction. T-102 Tyrant has stronger power and faster speed, but it has great uncontrollability. This kind of Tyrant is extremely dangerous, and it is easy to lose control, and the possibility of mutating after being injured is also the highest. Relatively speaking, the T-103 Tyrant focuses all its strength on controllability and stability. The corporation uses restraints to suppress the Tyrant's mutation and allow the Tyrant to be used as a stable weapon. The most straightforward summary is that the T-102 Tyrant is more powerful, but it is easy to lose control. the T-103 Tyrant is much weaker, but it is better than Stability. As a result, Umbrella's research has two branches. The research direction of the T-103 branch is to develop towards mass production, scale, and intelligence, with the purpose of producing mature weapons that can satisfy the arms market. There are many projects under this branch, including the Nemesis project in Europe, which uses the Nemesis parasite to control the Tyrant, the final product of which is the tracker. Also, the Yvonne-type Tyrant I have seen before is also a product of the T-103 direction. And there is still an ongoing, unfinished project, the T-0400TP project. The latest mass-produced Tyrant. This Tyrant has achieved a perfect balance in terms of speed, strength, variability, controllability, and manufacturing cost. It is controlled by a built-in biochip, and can even be replaced with different biochips to complete different combat methods. On the other hand, the direction of T-102 is more experimental, that is, it simply strengthens the Tyrant's ability to the extreme without considering the cost. Research in this direction, one of the products is the extremely powerful TA.L.O.S Tyrant. This kind of terrifying monster that combines machinery and biology can kill an entire Russian special forces in the test records, can single out armed helicopters, and can destroy the formation of 3 armored vehicles. It can be said that it is the most perfect B.O.W for modern warfare. But what really scared Chen Yuyan into a cold sweat was another research and development project based on the T-102 Tyrant Hypnose T-type. Sleepy Tyrant. According to the data, this kind of Tyrant put together hundreds of thousands of cells containing various genes, let them swallow each other through biological stimulation, and finally selected the only winner among the hundreds of thousands of cells, which was the Hypnose gene, Sleeping God gene. This screening process alone takes up to 3 weeks and must be monitored around the clock by researchers. Then, the miniaturized Tyrant is produced by combining the Sleep God gene with the Tyrant's raw material beta-non-isoserotonin. The entire manufacturing process requires a research team to work around the clock for more than 2 months. This manufacturing process is several times more complicated than the most complicated Tyrant model known so far, the Tracker. The last created Tyrant possessed an extremely brutal nature and ultra-high-density muscles. The strength of the muscles alone can resist the shooting of large-caliber bullets, and it can also support it to move with unimaginable speed and flexibility. Its explosive power is 10 times that of a cheetah. When the speed is fully opened, the eyes of ordinary people can't even catch its figure. Thank you for the 1000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 480. 474. It's a lot of harvest. Chen Yuyan felt a chill down his spine when he saw the terrifying data of the Hypno Sleeping God Tyrant. His understanding of the world of Resident Evil was all through the files of Mocha at the beginning, and then Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi. He learned from the commentary, so he never had the impression that there was such a terrifying tyrant model in Resident Evil. It can be said that if there is such a sleepy tyrant in the Caucasus base, then it is estimated that no one in the entire team can survive except him and Yi. Coupled with the powerhouses such as Wesker, Nikolai, and TA.L.O.S Tyrant who have been watching around all the time, maybe there will be a lot of casualties. In this combat environment, this kind of sleepy tyrant poses no less threat than Wesker. It is even said that the cruel and bloodthirsty nature of the sleeping god tyrant will make it more terrifying than Wesker. But when he continued to browse the file data, Chen Yuyan breathed a sigh of relief. It turns out that this sleepy tyrant is a research project of Umbrella's largest B.O.W production factory before Sina Island base. Facilities were also destroyed. He has an impression of Shina Island, because when they first came to the world of Resident Evil, the mission goal of these experimenters was to survive until January 1st of the second year, and the Raccoon City incident he directly participated in occurred on September 28 number. Later, because he was too exhausted in the Raccoon City incident, he didn't do much after the incident, and the Umbrella Company, which was already in chaos, didn't care about their untrustworthy USS. But even so, they got a lot of information inside the company, one of which was the destruction of Shinnah Island. And judging from the system prompts, the number of experimenters who died on Shinnah Island was second only to those who died in Raccoon City. During that mission, the system will not allow the experimenters the opportunity to be alone, so all the experimenters who come to the world of Resident Evil will go to the core of several conflicts in this world because of force majeure, and at least need to participate one of the. Therefore, in that series of events, even Chun Yuyan felt a little pity for those experimenters who were sent to Shinnah Island. The chances of them surviving were really too small, especially after seeing the terrifying sleepy tyrant. After the destruction of Shinnah Island, Umbrella Company only recovered the materials of the Shinnah Island research project, but because all the researchers there died, the research in this area did not continue. Of course, all these data now belong to Chun Yuyan. Among them, TA.L.O.S Talos Tyrant and Hypno Sleeping God Tyrant are level 4 technology, while Yvonne Tyrant is level 3 technology. In addition, the T-0400 TP Tyrant is also a level 4 technology, but Umbrella has not completed the research and development of this project, so the technology is only about 60% complete, and it needs to be researched by the organization. This is the first time that Chun Yuyan has encountered a situation where the research of science and technology has not been completed, but it is expected. Anyway, as long as he can use the scientists of the academy for his own use, the scientific research team in his hands can be said to reach the world's top level. In addition, there is another big gain is the related technology of the White Queen, because the Red Queen's technology he scanned before was only a part, and then Umbrella Company made some upgrades to the artificial intelligence technology, so after the combination of the two, the Red Queen's technology has been obtained. It has been upgraded, and it is now a level 4 technology. Other technologies include B.O.W's factories, cutting-edge laboratories, and the experimental base dedicated to the Talos Tyrant, so I won't repeat them one by one. In short, this attack on the Caucasus base can be said to be very rewarding. Chun Yuyan has almost obtained at least 80% of Umbrella's scientific research results. If he is given enough time, he can completely rebuild Umbrella. However, rebuilding Umbrella is meaningless to Chun Yuyan. What he needs now is industrialization, a force capable of satisfying a full-scale modern war. In this regard, Umbrella Company is beyond its capabilities. Father, what should we do with that thing? Yi walked over and asked, pointing to the ceiling. You mean that huge black chimney? Chun Yuyan took Yi to the balcony outside the base building, and looked at the very abrupt-looking square chimney made of black stones in the center of the base. Countless black mist billowed out, covering the entire base. Those black mist are the energy of undead magic. Chun Yuyan walked all the way to the bottom of the black chimney, and saw that Alexia had also turned back into a human form, and came there ahead of schedule wearing a researcher's clothes. Is this the power of magic? A power that doesn't belong to this world? Alexia asked without looking back. That's right, and it's the most evil undead magic among magic. Chun Yuyan said. Alexia sneered, evil. Does it mean that this kind of magic is playing with the life and death of others, or that you don't like this kind of power that uses corpses as tools? For Umbrella Corporation, no matter which one is familiar. Chun Yuyan didn't change his face, and replied flatly, it's because this kind of power violates universal values. Once it is exposed, it will not be integrated into human society. So what if you don't become a human being? Alexia said coldly. You talk about it, and you do a lot of it. But what you keep ignoring is that everything you pursue is based on human society. Once you really leave human society, you will find that you pursue it's boring, Chunyuan said. That's because you don't understand my higher life form. No, it's not that I don't understand, it's that you don't want to accept it. It's like you wear nice clothes, live in a mansion, enjoy the envy and awe of everyone, and show your nobility in front of ordinary people. Your clothes you were burned during the battle with Nikolai, but you have maintained a fighting posture, and then returned to the room to take a bath and change clothes before changing back to human form. Why? Chunyuan asked. Why, wouldn't you be happy to see me naked in front of other men? Alexia mocked with a pun. Chunyuan smiled, looked at her and said, look, what you care about is the social rules of human beings. Alexia's pretty face suddenly turned pale, but she still said forcefully, this is different. No. It's no different, Alexia. You have never understood why you are alive, and you have never thought about it. From birth to now, you have lived in the cage your father made for you, and everything about you what you have done is just to continuously strengthen this cage. The so-called higher level of life and the so-called new world are just the interface you weave for your antisocial personality. After Chunyuan finished speaking, he walked up the factory building. Go, ignore Alexia. You're just looking for an excuse to reject me. Alexia said loudly. But he found that Chunyuan had already climbed up the chimney and began to study, so he stomped his feet in annoyance, stamped out a big hole in the ground, turned around and left angrily. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 481. 475 Magic Technology. Climbing to the bottom of the black chimney, the surrounding black mist is already very thick. After Chunyuan came into contact with the black mist, he didn't have the feeling of being covered in black coal ash as he expected. On the contrary, he felt a little cold, as if there were countless floating snowflakes in the mist. However, after staying in this black mist for a long time, this icy feeling gradually turned into bone-piercing cold. And it goes directly to the soul. No matter how many layers of down jackets you wear, you can't stop the cold. Chunyuan's face was serious, and he put his hand on the black stone. This kind of stone is cold and rough to the touch, just like the common fired bricks on the construction site, but it is very hard. Even with his strength, it is difficult to get rid of it. Let some scum come down, he said silently in his heart. Scan. Originally, he just had the mentality of giving it a try, but the next system prompt shocked him a lot. Scanning is complete. The magic building Dark Sky Curtain has been added to the Infinite Base database, but it cannot be built. The host has come into contact with a complete magic item and opened the magic technology, but the conditions are insufficient to build any related items and buildings. Chunyuan almost fell down the chimney, and he said in a voiceless voice, how is it possible? You can even scan magic. Magic is part of technology, the system answered very briefly. Then what conditions do I have to meet to build magic items? Chunyuan asked. Upgrade the Infinite Base, and scan and touch more magic items, the relevant conditions will gradually open. Chunyuan thoughtfully climbed down from the chimney, called Beltway, pointed to the chimney and said, blow up this thing. But be careful, it's best to use directional blasting, and don't let the debris of this building explode. Fly around. Ha 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 ha, leave it to me. Beltway was so excited when he heard that something was going to be blown up, he patted his chest and agreed. Then he went all the way back to the control center, and everyone else was here, but Alexia was missing. Four Eyes took the initiative to say, that proud chick said she went back to England. Obviously she was happy with this result. Chunyuan nodded. At this time, Chris Redfield walked over with a serious face, and asked Chunyuan, what are your plans? His question contained too much meaning, and he also believed that Chunyuan could hear it. Although Chunyuan can pretend to be stupid, facing one of the protagonists in the world of Resident Evil, he will be needed a lot in the future, so Chenyuyan is going to tell the truth. The umbrella company has been destroyed, but just like in Raccoon City before, I will give you all the evidence about Umbrella's collusion with government officials from other countries. And I will take all the company's data about B.O.W. Chris' face darkened, and he asked slowly, "You should know how dangerous these data are?" "Believe it or not, I'm only worried that these data are not dangerous enough," Chenyuyan said with a smile. "What do you mean?" Chris has already made up his mind. If the unpredictable person in front of him really has any dangerous thoughts, then even if it costs his life, he will stay here. Chenyuyan turned his head to look at the endless black mist outside the window, and said, "Do you believe it? There is another world. A world completely different from ours." He suddenly discovered that this reason was really good, and it was almost invincible. In the world of Fallout 4, many people were fooled by this argument. Of course, it is not always true to say that he is fooling, but he can hide many of his plans in different worlds as an excuse. Chris also looked out the window. "I didn't believe it before, but now, I have to believe it. Actually, how should I put it, I'm a warlord, from a world full of wars. So, I will take the Umbrella Company's database with me and use it in wars in another world." Chenyuyan said. "A war in another world, why should I trust you? Let's put it this way, even if you don't believe it, you can't do anything. You can't stop me from doing anything. Why don't we get along in a different way?" Chenyuyan walked to the side sofa and sat down. "You said before, but now you're working for the Global Pharmaceutical Federation, right?" "That's right." "Well, then, my Ruin World Group will join the Global Pharmaceutical Federation, and then we will fund your actions to support you. We will support your anti-biological weapons actions, and will provide sufficient funds and the most advanced equipment. What do you think?" Chenyuyan said. Chris froze for a moment. He had no idea that things would develop like this. Because he and Jill are indeed considering this matter, that is, to set up an organization to investigate the proliferation of biological and chemical weapons around the world, but to maintain such an organization's actions must have huge funds. The purpose of organizing activities is to lobby them to fund the establishment of this organization. However, the Global Pharmaceutical Federation obviously doesn't have much interest in such an organization that puts shackles on itself. They agree to a limited investigation, but they are far from the goal that Chris envisioned. Seeing Chris's hesitation, Chenyuyan smiled. Because of his intervention, many things in this world have undergone earth-shaking changes. He has eliminated several organizations that would later replace Umbrella Corporation as the world's new biochemical threat. In the future, Morpheus Duval, who stole ballistic missile technology and used it to threaten the Yan Kingdom and the United States, is now his subordinate. The Greyhound organization that created a series of biochemical terrorist attacks was wiped out by him, and then rose in the United States for a time. Wilfama Pharmaceuticals, which replaced Umbrella, was defeated before it was established. Even the Sanlian company leaked a lot of information because of Tomoko Kora's joining and betrayal. Now they and the FBC and H.C.F behind them have gradually surfaced, and they are no longer mysterious. Most importantly, Albert Wesker and Oswell Spencer had already been killed by him. Under such circumstances, it can be said that the threat of bioterrorism in this world is much smaller than that of the original plot, so the Global Pharmaceutical Association that had to establish BSAA in the original plot because of the endless bioterrorism threats emerging around the world is different. The Pharmaceutical Federation is not going to have much interest in this matter now. But Chenyuyan knew that the potential threat was not small at all. In addition to FBC, Sanlian, and H.C.F, there are also more mysterious family organizations, as well as the Shinya group that has not yet set foot in the field of biological and chemical weapons, but once it is involved in the next few years, it will explode with terrifying power. Every Black Hand has the potential to deal a fatal blow to the world again. The world of Resident Evil is Chenyuyan's back garden, and he will never let these people pose a threat to his world no matter what the reason is. Therefore, he took advantage of the foresight of the experimenter, and happened to win over Chris and the other protagonists here, and then use them to fight against the biochemical terror in this world. Seeing that Chris was still hesitating, he waved his hand, and a completely different powered armor appeared in front of him. I only saw that the whole body of this power armor was painted white. Its body looked thick and clumsy. It had no neck. The head was almost connected to the body. There were several rows of small round holes in the front as observation holes, but in fact these observation holes were sealed, attached to the tactical eyepiece at the rear. Although it seems that this power armor is bulkier and much more backward than the T-51B he lent to Chris before, but there is no doubt about it is equipped with very thick armor, so thick that it is hard to imagine, it is simply a humanoid tank. As if seeing through Chris' thoughts, Chen Yuyan said, "Actually, you are right. This kind of power armor is used to handle some high-risk experimental environments, not professional power armor for combat. But you should be able to understand the reason why I won't give you the T-51B. Chris looked solemn. He understood how much trouble the T-51B, an epoch-making weapon, would cause in the world. Among other things, the organization he was planning would definitely be labeled as a military organization by those who cared. Forget about operating in countries all over the world. He thought for a while and said, "If you have no other intentions, then I naturally welcome your funding. But I'm ugly at the beginning. I require a high degree of autonomy and prosecutorial powers for the establishment of this organization, including supervision. All your actions, even if you are funders, are treated equally." Haha. Chen Yuyan clapped his hands and said, "The reason why I funded you is because of this. All right, let's destroy this base now. Red Queen, there should be a self-destruct system here, right?" "Master, yes." "Owner." Hearing Hung Hao's voice from the loudspeaker, Chris gave Chen Yuyan a very strange look, the meaning of which was self-evident. "This base should still be of great use, are you sure you want to destroy it?" Hank asked aside. Chen Yuyan shook his head and said, "No matter how useful this base is, it is also located in the hinterland of Russia. The North-South Austrian ladder is also a political powder keg. It would be fine if we did some research secretly like the Umbrella Company did before, but obviously we want to not here. In addition, only by blowing up here can the international community explain the matter of the undead before. It's true. Although Russia has kept a low profile in the past few years, their national characteristics are such that things that can be solved with fists are never unreasonable. This base is located in the Caucasus, which does more harm than good to us," Ghost said. At this time, Beltway's cheers came from outside the window. "Oh, drink, it's exploding. It's about to explode. Ha 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 ha." Boom. There was a deafening explosion. "Thank you for the 1000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. Thank you for the 500 starting coins rewarded by Sakura Wilme. Thanks to book friend 2020053119102937 for the reward of 100 starting coins. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 482. 476 Acquisition of Umbrella. Following a terrifying explosion, the Umbrella Company's Caucasus experimental base was reduced to ruins. This huge explosion even triggered an avalanche. The transfer station was also completely submerged, buried under ice and snow more than 10 meters deep. This huge explosion also completely sounded the death knell of Umbrella Company. This company, which was once the largest commercial entity in the world, finally came to an end. With the death of Oswell Edward Spencer, the director of the company at the time, all senior management of Umbrella Company either resigned or died, and the company has completely collapsed. The undead incident in Georgia finally attracted the attention of the international community. but the incident was still identified by United Nations investigators as being caused by a new virus developed by Umbrella. As for what this virus is and what the principle is, with the explosion of the Caucasus base, everything was buried by the ice and snow of the Caucasus. However, this vicious virus leak was determined to be deliberately spread by Oswell E. Spencer, and it was also his last madness in despair. This incident caused the destruction of 4 or 5 townships in Georgia, including Kazbek and Ushgulai, with more than 10,000 casualties. To make matters worse, there is evidence that separatists in South Austria in Georgia were involved in the virus leak and wanted to use it to become independent. At the same time, the Georgian Regular Army is also gathering in the military town of Gori, ready to launch a thunderous blow against the separatists at any time, but they are afraid of this unknown virus and hesitate to act. Russia and Georgia announced an agreement 24 hours after the explosion at the Caucasus base, but the content of the agreement is unknown. Another 4 hours later, the Russian 58th Army stationed in Feridikivkaz crossed the border and went straight into the South Austrian Tver region in Georgia. The 58th Army and the separatist army of the South Austrian latter had a fierce exchange of fire with a large number of infected undead zombies. Under the cover of modern three-dimensional firepower, the opponent had no room for resistance. Less than 3 hours after the start of the battle, the 18th Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade, the vanguard of the 58th Army, entered Tskinvali, the capital of South Austria. The next day, Georgia and Russia jointly announced the blockade of the entire South Austrian Tver region, raising the biochemical threat level in the area to BSL-3. Subsequently, the Russian army withdrew, and a new company called Ruin World Group took over the work. This company will send special personnel to the South Austrian Tver region to ensure that the region is no longer threatened by biological and chemical weapons. This is also the first time that the Ruin World Group has appeared in the eyes of the public. However, a few hours later, an even more explosive news broke out. The Ruin World Group announced the acquisition of Umbrella Corporation. The acquisition was completed by Alexia Ashford, granddaughter of Umbrella co-founder Edward Ashford, for an undisclosed amount. However, Alexia announced that the funds obtained from the acquisition and the funds obtained after the sale of Umbrella's existing assets will all be used to pay off serious casualties caused by several biochemical crises such as Raccoon City and Georgia. Afterwards, the external spokesperson of the Ruin World Group, an unimaginably young black woman, Horna, stepped onto the high platform of the press conference, and introduced the basic situation of the Ruin World Group and the future after the acquisition of Umbrella in very sophisticated language. Business strategy. She claimed that there are now 3 main business scopes of Ruin World Group: intelligent robots, civil aerospace industry, and environmental protection work. Among them, the main direction of environmental protection work is the recycling and reuse of garbage and waste materials, and use them to produce energy. The related technologies have applied for patents, and will soon carry out related project cooperation in countries around the world. As for the civil aerospace industry, the group is currently preparing to join the civil project of EADS, which is being prepared by the European Union, and the first large-scale project is to try to launch a giant airship with an all-metal structure, which will operate as a luxury sky hotel. In order to satisfy the manufacture of giant airships, the Ruin World Group will build huge processing and manufacturing workshops around the world, and this behavior will also bring additional taxes and material circulation to the local area. In terms of intelligent robots, the group has launched a protector-type guard robot as a leading product, and will follow up to develop more protector-type robot projects. And it is also predicted that a more advanced butler robot, Mr. Skillful Hand, will be launched in the future. In the end, Horna claimed that Ruin World Group's acquisition of Umbrella did not include any research and development data of Umbrella's biological weapons. This acquisition was mainly aimed at Umbrella's previous civilian products. It mainly includes the patent rights of first aid spray and various anti-cancer drugs, and these products will be sold by Ruin World Group. At the same time, the Ruin World Group will integrate the remaining resources of Umbrella Corporation to form the fourth department, the Medical Department. This department will take over Umbrella's civilian clinical drug research and development, and will continue to explore the field of medicine for the people of the world in the future. This press conference can be regarded as completely branding the Ruin World Group, but when investors waved their money and rushed to the stock investment markets of various countries, they were surprised to find that this company was not listed at all. In other words, this group involving several key areas is actually a privatized group. This disappointed those who coveted the mysterious technologies of the Ruin World Group, but at the same time they also realized that what this group valued most was not their capital, but their technology. At the same time, they also realized that the behind-the-scenes boss of this group may have extraordinary economic strength, conservatively estimated to have assets of hundreds of billions of dollars. However, his family members talked about their own affairs. Apart from this company, Chen Yuyan can be said to be poor and useless now. Let alone hundreds of billions of dollars, he doesn't have thousands of dollars on him now. Ruin World Group is now spreading such a large stall at one time. The main reason is that after the Caucasus incident, Alexia backhanded the $2 billion in assets transferred after her brother Alfred Ashford was controlled. Chen Yuyan also directly promised to give her 50% dividends. Just kidding, that's $2 billion. You must know that before the Ruin World Group counted the Wolf Pack team and took out their deposits at the bottom of the box, the total was only $10 million. This made Chen Yuyan scold these blood-sucking evil capitalists in his heart. The members of the Wolf Pack team went through life and death for the daily salary of $10,000. Alexia, who was sitting and enjoying the mansion, threw $2 billion backhands. This is the result of her father and brother's incompetence and prodigal family. But the dividends belong to the dividends. When taking the money, Alexia's hints of "I don't want money, I want your people, as long as you follow me, money is not a problem, even my people are yours," Chen Yuyan pretended to be ignorant. While everyone was bombarded with news about Georgia, Umbrella Corporation, and Ruin World Group, a small episode was ignored by almost everyone. Swiss capital Zurich, Union Bank of Switzerland. A slender woman with short black hair, wearing a red top and black leather skirt, walked into the bank dragging a small suitcase. She took off her sunglasses, and under those slightly sly almond eyes was a beautiful face of mixed race between East and West. She looked around, found the bank manager and said a few words, and then was taken into the VIP room respectfully by the manager. After a while, the bank manager came over with two staff members holding a metal box and offered it with both hands. "This is the item you want to pick up. The confidentiality level is the highest. Our bank can absolutely guarantee the safety of the item. You can sign for it here," the manager said. The woman nodded, signed the signature very readily, put the metal box into the suitcase, walked out slowly, and drove away in a black luxury car. In the car, the woman opened the metal box, a faint black mist filled the air, only to see a black crystal in the box. This crystal is constantly shining with black light as if it is breathing. If Chen Yuyan was here, he would definitely scream, because this crystal is almost exactly the same as the one Yi dug out from Wesker's chest, except that the black mist is much weaker. Thank you for the 1000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. Thanks to Emperor Class Star Destroyer and Book Friend 1608270014138887 for the 100 starting coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 483. 477. The situation has changed. During this time, Chen Yuyan was very busy. After dominating the world of Resident Evil, the time of this world was finally synchronized with that of Command and Conquer, so a lot of work could be carried out smoothly. The research and production of the Level 3 manufacturing center and the 2 Level 2 subsidiary manufacturing stations of the Infinite Base has never stopped. Among them, the Level 3 manufacturing center is constantly producing TIC tanks and T-51B power armor, while the Level 2 subsidiary manufacturing station in the mining area is constantly expanding the worker ant drone factory, and also built 5 turret models. The primary railgun is used as a stationary fortification. Another Level 2 subsidiary manufacturing station at Black Wolf Base has been producing M41A1 pulse rifles and related ammunition non-stop, and is also replenishing ammunition resources for armored forces. At the same time, the research of the Infinite Base has not stopped for a moment. Chenyuyan's first research and development targets are the technologies of T-45B power armor and T-60A power armor. These two technologies are in the database of the Brotherhood of Steel, just like other technologies. After researching and developing the technology, you can build the production line. After that, what he needs to study is the Level 3 technology laser Gatling and the Level 2 technology nuclear fusion battery as weapons for the power armor, as well as the Level 3 technology micro fusion core, which is the power source of the power armor. After completing the research of these technologies, Chenyuyan has been staying in the world of Resident Evil, and there are too many things to be busy here. As a result, the construction of buildings has been postponed, and the production line has been producing finished products and expanding armaments. Next, Chenyuyan was researching the technologies related to several robots, and he chose the robot technology tree of Master Mechanic. The first is to start the assembly robot from the ordinary level, then the servo level, the combination level, and finally the cyber level, because the most advanced quantum level assembly robot is a level 4 technology, so he cannot research it. Afterwards, Chenyuyan began to study tank robots, also starting from the ordinary level, and is currently researching servo-level tank robots. The tank robot is already a level 4 technology at the cyber level, and the quantum level tank robot is even a level 5 technology, and it is completely incapable of research now. When Infinity Base was developing at an extremely fast speed, there was an episode in the world of Resident Evil. Chris Redfield finally told Chenyuyan something that he originally planned to keep secret. One day he came directly to Chenyuyan's office and said to him, "I have a friend who has very strange symptoms of infection. I think you should know something." "Your friend? Who?" Chenyuyan was stunned for a moment, then he put down the document in his hand and asked. On the title exposed on that document, it reads Telegria City Construction Plan. His name is Leon Scott Kennedy. During the incident in Raccoon City, my sister Claire also strayed into it and escaped thanks to his help and care. Chris said, he was supposed to be a newcomer to S.T.A.R.S, but unfortunately, I encountered such a thing when I went to Raccoon City to take office. Leon was actually infected. Chenyuyan was shocked, but he was still very calm. "This friend of yours, what kind of virus is he infected with?" "I don't know the specifics, but some tiny green crystals grew on his body." "Wait a minute. You mean, green crystals grew on Leon's body? When? Where?" Chenyuyan was startled, and hurriedly asked. "In the ruins of Raccoon City." After the Raccoon City incident, Leon joined the US government's investigation team as one of the survivors of Raccoon City, where they found a strange green crystal, and Leon accidentally came into contact with some. After that then he developed symptoms of fatigue, and then he was sent to a hospital affiliated with the Global Pharmaceutical Federation for treatment, and all the doctors were helpless. Moreover, this green crystal will continue to spread in his body, causing his organs to severely fail. But later they discovered that this crystal has very low activity in a low temperature environment, so they can only delay the spread of the green crystal in his body in this way. Chris said. Chenyuyan's face darkened, and he said slowly, "Being infected by this kind of crystal is basically hopeless. But what I am more concerned about is what is the attitude of the US government towards this kind of green crystal. They regarded this crystal as a variant of the T virus. After confirming that it would not be transmitted through the air, they relaxed the blockade slightly, but they are still controlling this crystal. Chris said. No, it's not that it won't spread through the air. Chunyuan has also put a lot of thought into understanding tiberium mines now. If this kind of crystal infects plants, then it will transform the structure of plants. Produce spores so that they can circulate in the air. Chunyuan said in a deep voice. Chris was taken aback, and quickly asked, then what should we do now? Chunyuan said seriously, it seems that the situation is urgent now, and I have to adjust my strategy. After speaking, he stood up and called Huona and Liang Li to come to see him immediately. You really know this stuff? Chris slapped Chunyuan's table with a bang. Now I want you to tell me. How can Leon recover? What if I say I can't recover? Chunyuan said flatly. Impossible. Everything in the world has a way to restrain it. Chris roared. What we know so far is that high-frequency sound waves can shatter the molecular structure of this crystal, but they cannot be used for treatment, because high-frequency sound waves will also resonate human body tissues into a pile of rotten flesh. Chunyuan replied. I want you to tell me what to do. Send Leon to another world, I can only say try. But the crux of the problem now is obviously not with Leon. It's with the US government. Chunyuan said seriously. You humming want to kill him, Chris roared, but then he realized, you mean, take him to another world? So does it mean that this green crystal came from another world? You brought this crystal? I don't know the origin of the crystal, but I do know some information, that's all. This crystal is very dangerous. I need you to help me connect with the Global Pharmaceutical Federation, and then I will negotiate with the US government. Chunyuan said. At this time, Huona and Liang Li knocked on the door and walked into the office. When they saw Chris, they were stunned. Go and prepare for Leon first, I need to take him away. Chunyuan waved to Chris. Although Chris was angry, he was helpless, so he turned around and slammed the door out. Now there is definite evidence that tiberium mines are appearing in the ruins of Raccoon City and spreading slowly. In other words, the existence of tiberium mines has been known to the US government. Now our strategy need to adjust. Huana, you organize a plan. I need to participate in the official research of the tiberium mine without revealing our own secrets. Chunyuan said. Okay, I'll go right away. Horna replied without hesitation. Chunyuan turned to the students studying in Yangguo again, and said, Liang Li, you immediately build a model of international relations again. Now tiberium mines only appear in the United States, and the US government will definitely keep the existence of this mine completely secret. But for the sake of power balance, this mine has to be known to the world, and I need a plan. Liang Li was in a cold sweat immediately. Boss Yan, you want me to shake the situation in the whole world. It's very likely that you want to deal with the Big Five. I'm worried. Chunyuan interrupted him with a wave of his hand and said, there is nothing to worry about. I am the only one in this world who can handle tiberium mines. This is the advantage I give you. You know, the 5 gangsters can't do it either, so, you are stronger than them at the negotiating table. Thanks to Allen's and Under the White Moon for the 100 starting coins. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 484. 478 Biochemical Basic Disc, Part 1. 3 days later, a sudden press conference detonated the whole world. A Danish scientist named Justin Eyre suddenly held a press conference in the name of the Ruin World Group, announcing to the world that he had discovered an alien mineral, which was in the form of a green crystal, highly contagious and erosive, because the mineral was first discovered by scientists from the Ruin World Group in the Tiber River in Italy, so they named this mineral Tiberia. According to Justin Eyre, this extraterrestrial mineral landed on the Earth with the previous Leonid meteor shower, and now they have been discovered in many places around the world, and the Ruin World Group has launched research for the first time. According to preliminary research results, the erosion effect of this alien mineral on organic matter is very obvious. If it is contacted by plants or animals, it will quickly enter the target's body, continuously swallow the active cells of the target and split itself, and finally crystallize the target's whole body and become the nutrient of tiberium. Moreover, the tiberium mine itself does not have the ability to spread through the air, but once the tiberium mine comes into contact with a large enough tree, the tree will mutate into a silicon-based life form, and will generate a large amount of it in the body. Huge tiberium spores, so that these spores are scattered by the wind, and even spread to the whole world. Justin Eyre emphasized that this extraterrestrial mineral will become a global crisis if it is not controlled. Now the Ruin World Group has been searching for this mineral around the world, and has discovered and controlled tiberium mines in Eastern Africa, Eastern Asia, Southern Europe, Central America, and other regions. At the same time, the Ruins World Group is also constantly researching this mineral, and has already mastered some of the characteristics of this mineral. Current research shows that this mineral has an unstable positron reaction, and its molecular structure is also very unstable, which means it has strong plasticity. At the same time, tiberium mines contain powerful energy. If there is a way to use it, it will be a great benefit to mankind. Justin Eyre also said that the Ruin World Group has now established a dedicated tiberium mine research department, led by a person named Dr. Mobius. Dr. Mobius is a real expert on the issue of tiberium mines. He first raised the issue of tiberium mines and found a solution. I believe that under his leadership, the Ruin World Group will soon be able to conquer the tiberium mines. Bury a secret. After that, there was a lot of incomprehensible technical terms in blah blah. Although the reporters could not understand them, think tanks and scientific research institutions in various countries could understand them. At the same time, several papers on tiberium mines published under the name of Dr. Mobius were published on the Science magazine. These papers listed various data analyses on tiberium mines, and even the photos of the experiment show that the tiberium mine has replaced the previous Umbrella and Georgia incidents as the focus of the world. Of course, the biggest focus is still the Ruin World Group. From announcing the acquisition of Umbrella before, to announcing to the world that each of their 4 development routes is enough to become the pinnacle of world technology, and now they are the first to announce the tiberium mine. Some people even began to speculate whether this formerly unknown Ruined World Group had obtained alien technology, because the day when the group was established was written clearly, just a few months ago. All kinds of commercial spies began to gather in various offices of Ruin World Group, hoping to get their secrets from them. Many people even wanted to kidnap Dr. Mobius, but all efforts were in vain. Because Dr. Mobius is a person from another world. He is an expert in tiberium mines in the world of Command and Conquer, and it is said that he died of illness in the GDI-controlled area more than 10 years ago. Chen Yuyan just borrowed his name and the video data he left in the world of Command and Conquer. A person who no longer exists, what do you use to kidnap him? Justin Eyre has now started to study tiberium mines, and Wang Jinsong also left a lot of information on tiberium mines for Chen Yuyan before, and these are good references. As for tiberium mines being found all over the world, purely fake. The tiberium mines in those places were all dispatched by the Wolf Pack team in the past few days, and they brought liquid tiberium mines and spilled them in some remote, safe areas with little vegetation. Then, after the liquid tiberium grew for a day or two, and it looked like that, they pulled up the cordon and pretended to send an investigation team to collect the tiberium. And because the Americans must have obtained a large number of samples of tiberium ore, Chen Yuyan also found some places to sprinkle tiberium ore, and deliberately left traces for the authorities of the country where he was located to find out. In this way, everyone has it, and it is fair. In fact, there are many objective reasons for the spread of tiberium mines in the world of Command and Conquer. First of all, tiberium mine first appeared in the Tiber River in Italy, and because no one knew about it at all, it grew naturally for a long time. In addition, the climate in that place was humid and rich in vegetation, which soon infected a large number of plants and turned into tiberium flowering trees, spraying a large number of spores into the air. After that, because countries were completely unfamiliar with tiberium mines, many wrong experiments were carried out, which led to the rapid spread of tiberium mines. Finally, when all countries paid attention to it, the spread of tiberium was out of control. And this is only one aspect. On the other hand, the Nod Brotherhood headed by Cain is also secretly promoting the growth of tiberium mines, which is also an important factor. But even that is not enough. According to Wang Jinsong's information, tiberium mines can really spread out of control in the world of Command and Conquer. Another important reason is that during the last war, a large number of tiberium spore-rich meteorites kept falling, which had devastating consequences. Speaking of which, the city Chenyuan was in when he just crossed over, which is the current ruined city, was destroyed by the tiberium meteorite that fell from the sky. So without these objective factors, the proliferation of tiberium mines would not be so fast at all. Therefore, in the world of Resident Evil, firstly, Chenyuan would not intentionally spread tiberium mines, secondly, he would tell everyone about the dangers of tiberium mines, and thirdly, there is no natural disaster of tiberium here. So it's basically impossible to make the world of Resident Evil into Resident Evil Command and Conquer.